Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do another video over the Mineland Wildlife Area in southeast Kansas. Today the video is going to be over north number 22, which we call PowerLine Pit. It is the north 22 if you look on the map there, and you'll see it here, pulling it up exactly where it's at. Later on, I'll show you where it's at, but it's North 22. We call it PowerLine Pit. But before I get into that, anybody guys that have watched the videos, you know the routine. If you're not a subscriber yet, please become a subscriber. It's a great way to support the channel. It's a great way to keep the channel growing. Lets me know everybody is watching and enjoying the content, getting lots of great feedback, and that is great to hear from you guys. Hit the like button too. That helps get the videos out there, helps YouTube recommendations, and also comments help as well. If you have any questions, if you're enjoying the content, just put a comment down there that it's good content. Let others know. It helps the YouTube recommendations as well. Okay, so let's get into this. North number 22, which is PowerLine. Once again, I did not write down exactly where it's at, but you go from, it's just off. The easiest way to get there either way is Sportsman's Pit Road. You can go outside of Mineral and hit Sportsman's Pit Road, which is 70th, or you can go outside of Columbus and hit Sportsman's Pit Road, or coming out of Oswego and hit Sportsman's Pit Road and go north. If you're coming out of West Mineral, you'll go south, and there is a game warden station right there. I forget the exact road it's on, and you can take that, and it's just 1.5 miles. You'll see a T right there. It's between 80th and 90th, I believe it is. And right after that T, you'll see the boat ramp, and it'll be on the south side of the road. You'll see all that right here on Google or zooming in, and then also the strip pit map, taking you right where it's at right there. So North 22, let's get into the boat ramp condition first. The boat ramp is really good, but getting into the boat ramp is the difficult part. It's a little bit off the road. If you come in from the east, you'll want to try to turn around and come in from the west if you're not real good at backing a trailer up. And then it's not too bad because you can kind of come in and you'll go to the east of it and then back into it into the west. It ain't too bad if you do it that way, but if you come in from the east and try to swing it around, you got to be a little better at backing a trailer to get it in there. And then another downfall to it is the parking. If you got a trailer, the parking, you got to park on the side of the road. So the parking isn't real good in there. Now, the fishing is pretty decent in there, except the size. I average about 20 fish per trip in there. That's usually 2 people, so about 10 fish per person. That's average. That's even after we was just in there and we caught 13 in the winter. I think the time before we caught like 28 between the two of us, 35, something like that. Can't remember the exact number. I'd have to go look at that. The only problem is we've had 0 over 18 inches. And it is 34.43 acres. I know it don't look that big on the map, but it is. It does. I never thought it was that big either until I took around it and actually seen how many miles of shoreline and acres are there. And miles of shoreline is 6.81 acres of shoreline. So there is lots of water to fish in there, guys. There's lots of grass, especially in the summertime. There's matted grass. So if you like to throw a frog, it's a great place to throw a frog. If you like to punch mats, it's a great place to punch mats. You can get in the deeper waters and throw a worm. In the wintertime, you can get out with a jerkbait. In there works really good. Don't know about the A-rig or a swim bait in there. Never done too good on those two myself. Ned rig works really good in there because of the size of the fish. The size of the fish are just, like we just had a pit tournament in there, what was it, 2 weeks ago, and only 3 pounds won it on 5 fish, and there was 4 3-pound limits on 5 fish. There was a tie, and the tiebreaker was broke by a 12-ounce bass that my team had caught. My partner actually caught that 12-ounce bass, and that's what broke the tiebreaker. The next fish, actually the second and third place team actually tied for second, because they both had an 11-ounce bass and there was no other tiebreakers, so they tied for second and got second place points. And then the third team just had a 9 or 10-ounce bass for their big bass. So that's how close the weights are in there. Nobody caught one over 15 inches, and nobody caught one over 13 inches in the slot that I know of either. So every bass weighed in was under 13 inches, and there was probably about 100 bass caught that day. I know the tournament I fished before this recently was in October, and we had the biggest bass my team did of 16 3/4 ounce, or 16 3/4 inches is how big that one was. Might have been 15 3/4. It was somewhere around there. And I think it was 16 though. I think it was 16 3/4 how big it was. And that was the biggest bass then. So there's not too many big ones in there, but it's got lots of fish. If you want to go in there and catch fish, it's a great place if you want to go harvest bass as well, or harvest fish. There's lots of fish in there, and there was good eating size, you know. It might take more of them to take a limit or take out of there to get, you know, you could go in there 2 guys. You could take, I think it's a 5 fish limit in Kansas. I don't eat them, really take them home, but I think it's a 5 fish krill limit. So you could take 2 or 3 people in there and take 15 bass out of there. That's what this place needs, though, is because it's overran with little ones. Now, there's lots of grass. Like I said, it's stained to clear. It's not real dirty. It's not real clean. So it's a great pit for that. Another thing is crappie, guys. Crappie, that one of the guys in the bass tournament caught a crappie almost 3 pounds in there. So there are big crappie in there, and I've seen lots of big schools of crappie. I ain't never had the front-facing sonar in there, but I had the 2D sonar, and there was a lot of crappie underneath the boat. I seen them right out there. It would be... which one is this? It would be the yellow section in the middle section of the pit. I've seen a lot of crappie schools out in there, and that is where he caught the 3 pound, I do believe as well, right in that area. And I've seen lots of them on the 2D sonar. So now let's get into breaking this down. The first picture here, this is the pit, okay? That's the whole entire pit right there. Now, the next picture here, I'm going to show you all the areas that I'm going to break down. The red is the far north cove, where the ramp is. The R, that's where the ramp's at. And then the yellow area, that's what I'm going to call the middle section of the pit. And then the green, this is what I'm going to call the backwaters. And then the blue, that is the far south section. That's what I'm going to call the far south section. Now, the second picture here, that's going to be the red area, the far north cove. This I seen from the 2D sonar is the deepest part of the pit. Down and through there, about down further down towards the west end is the deepest part of the pit. Now the red, look in this area when the water is up in late spring, even through the early summer, or summer if it don't get matted up too much to get back in there. Now these bass ain't gonna go real deep in here because it's got lots of grass, so they can sit under those grass. So if you like punching mats and fishing grass mats, that's where they're going to be at. I don't know about in these backwaters too much because there ain't a lot of oxygen back in there, but they'll be off the main body in that grass because the grass also puts off oxygen as well. So they're going to be under those mats. They're going to be in there. They're not going to be out real deep like in some of the pits that don't have that structure in there. Now, when I say spawning fish, when I talk about this throughout this video, look for spawning fish around 60 to 70 degrees, and then look for the bluegill spawn to come in around 70 degrees as well. And that'll keep those bass, and what to focus on in those shallower areas is the bass are going to move up there and spawn, and then the bluegill are going to move up there and spawn. So kind of do your presentations based on that. Just like the kid that was with me, he was throwing a chartreuse pepper Ned. I think it was a rattling Ned from Guggen Baits. And he was throwing it, and a chartreuse pepper is chartreuse and green pumpkin watermelon looking, and that imitates a bluegill a lot, and they feed on bluegill a lot in this pit. So that's a great color. Just think about that if you go in here to target bluegill and even like the frogs, throw those kind of colors. I'll get into that later in the video. So look back in those pockets there with the red, and in the yellow, look in these coves during the late spring, early summer. Look in those all through those same kind of areas as the other ones. Now, the blue, there's an island out there that just looks amazing. It's got a tree on it right out there, and it looks really good, but I've never caught anything on it. But I know there's got to be a fish there. Somebody usually beats me to it when we're there in a pit tournament, and I think some guys did catch a couple bass off of it, but I have never caught anything off of that. Now, the rest of it, I've never done any good and never seen anything off of it. That don't mean you guys are going to not do any good on it, but I just have not myself. Now, the white, look out in these areas in the winter with a jerkbait. And what else do I have wrote down there? Oh, Ned rigs. Yeah, I couldn't read my writing there. Ned rigs and jerkbaits work really good in there. I was throwing a Vision 110 in there, and it worked really well, a Mega Bass Vision 110. And my partner was throwing the Ned rig, and it worked really well in that area. In this pit, you really want to downsize. I'm trying to kind of upsize with the jerkbait. I mean, I did catch more than him, but I still didn't get the bigger bites like I thought I would have. Now, the third picture I'm going to talk about here, that is the yellow, the middle area. This is my favorite area of this pit. And it's my favorite area of this pit because it's got so much in it right there. There's everything you need in this pit right there. So this is my favorite area out of all of them. Now the red, that's my favorite cove in this pit. I think it's just because I just fished the tournament in there and we just won the tournament out of this cove. So it's really my favorite cove in there, and I've done good the other times I've been in there in this cove as well. Now, the yellow dots, that is laydowns and brush in there. And then the green dots, look for spawners. All in these areas where I got these green dots, look for spawners, bass spawning up in there, and then also look for the bluegill to move up there and spawn. And there's also going to be, you can see in there where it kind of looks like it's dry, those are grass beds back in there, guys. That's grass beds in this pic. This picture was taken on Google Earth in the summertime. So those are grass mats back in there. So you can throw that frog, you can put a heavy punching weight on there. A ringer worm works great punching them. And then a Vexan, I'll get into all that later, but a Vexan frog works really good in there too. A ninja frog works good on top of those grass mats. Now, the jig works. I'll get into all that later. I'm jumping around there. Now, the blue, that is another good area just to the east of there. And the green that's a long point coming out right there. We see those long, where you see the green lines like that, that's going to be a long point whenever I talk about these. And those are good when they're moving up to spawn, when they're pre-spawn, and then also when they're post-spawn and they're moving back out after they spawn and right before they spawn. Now, when I talk pre-spawn, I'm talking about 52 degrees all the way up until they spawn, about 60, 62 degrees. Right up, that's all good post-spawn or pre-spawn, and then post-spawn is about 67 to 72 degrees right in there. They like to move back out, but in here they might stay up there because the bluegill's spawning up in there. And then once again, the yellow dots, those are some trees in there. And then the green dots, look for those bass beds, bluegill beds back in those areas, guys. Now, the yellow area circled right here, the purple is good in the late spring, okay, through the fall, through the summertime. It wasn't really too good in the winter. It was right there, the orange. That was in this area just right here where I circled in the yellow. We did caught two of them right there on a jerkbait and a Ned rig. One on a jerkbait, one on a Ned rig. I might have caught two on the jerkbait right there. Can't remember exactly. There'll be some footage here of it all too as I'm going through all this. I'll have some footage explaining it all and showing some fish catches here once it's all done, and maybe before the video. Not sure where I'm going to throw those in yet. In the video yet. So the yellow dots, those are some trees out there. And then the green line, that's another long point out there. I know I've seen a lot of crappie that I remember right off of those points. Now, the rest, I haven't really caught much on that I can think of. I haven't been in here a whole lot, and my memory isn't real good in there, except I got pretty good memory of the last tournament we fished in there 2 weeks ago. So a lot of this stuff is winter spots. And now the white, look for bass out in these areas in the winter and also crappie. That's where I've seen a lot of crappie at as well on the 2D sonar, out in those areas where the white is.
that might be a good one, Kyler. Getting that. Nope, not a good one. Just felt big. Here's one, Kyler. That might be a good one. I can't tell. Stay down, you son of a buck. Stay down. I don't know how big it is. Ain't that big, but we'll get him in the net so he don't flop off. There we go. Oh, there's one. I don't know if that's any better or not, but nope, ain't no better. That was a little big guy. Must be starting to head back here in a minute. 11:14. Yeah, we're back at 11. Yeah, we better. We have 20 minutes. There's another one. Oh, that might be a better one, Tyler. That is a better one. Get the net just in case. Pretty sure it's a better one. Yeah.
You like get the net and then like.
Well, I mean, it's always better to be safe than sorry. Okay, it's better to have a 4-pounder, Jen, or 3-pounder not jumped off.
So now the fourth area, this is the blue area. This is the far south area. Now, I have done good in this area. This is my second favorite part of this pit. I like the yellow, and I like this area, the blue. The blue area. So now the red, that is my favorite area in this part right here. The green dots, look for spawners back in here in the spring. And the fish are in here spring through the fall. I've caught them in here in October. This is where we won the tournament at, this main area right in here in the fall time when we was in there in October. Now, yellow, that is brush and laydowns. And then the orange, I've seen some fish caught off this bank, but I haven't done too good. And then the yellow, once again, there's brush in there. Now, the yellow bank, I haven't caught much off of it. And then if you go to the very back, far east side, the blue is a riprap bank. I haven't caught much there, but I love the looks of it, guys. I don't know. I just love riprap anytime I see it. So I have caught some fish there, and something tells me it's a great spot you can walk to and fish from the bank as well. But something tells me there's going to be some good fish caught there. Some point, sometime, there's got to be something up on that riprap, guys. And then the purple is just a little backwater, and look for spawners back in there. I've never really hit it too much back in there, but if the water's up, get back in there and look for that. Look for the spawners back in there, and then look for those grass mats that'll grow up over in there. Depends on how high the water is. Now, the last area, this is the green area. The red right there, those are the cut-throughs. There's also a cut-through just to the south that I didn't mention in the blue area there, but just to the south and east of this picture right there, there's another cut-through right back in there. Now, the water's got to be up a little bit to get through there. I know some guys and some fly bottoms had some problems getting through there that past tournament in there because the water's a little bit low, but they did get in there, and one of the guys was tied for first place. One of the guys that did catch the 3 pounds, he actually was the one that tied for second place, but he was tied for first except from the tiebreaker from the big bass. And they caught their fish back in, I forget if it's the far west one or the one right in the middle right there. Now, the green, that's the shallower swampy areas. Look for bedding bass and bedding bluegill back in there. And I've never fished these areas much, but like I said, the guys did tie for first place 2 weeks ago, February 25th, in there in this tournament. They caught the same amount, but they didn't tie, but they got second. Kind of hard to explain there, but there's 4 people that got first place like I explained before. So look, that area back in there is good as well if you can get back into it. So now let's get into the baits I like to throw in there. I've already mentioned some of those, and I'm going to mention them again. So jerk baits in the winter, Pro Blue Mega Bass is what I did the best on. You don't really need a deep jerk bait because they don't really go real deep in there because it's not real deep. I think the deepest part I seen was like 18 to 21 foot. Then back in that middle section was about 15 to 16 foot. But they were sitting, if you can get a little bit of wind, guys, look back at the front of all those pockets if you get a little bit of wind, and they'll be sitting right there ambushing shad right in those pockets depending on how hard that wind's blowing. We didn't have much wind blowing, but we did get that wind blowing. That jerkbait bite really came to life, and even the Ned rig bite did pick up when that wind was blowing in there as well. So throw the Pro Blue in the Vision 110, the Ned rigs. I didn't try a shad color. Another bait to throw in there in the wintertime would be a 2-inch big hammer. I didn't tie one on that day because I was sticking with the jerk bait, trying to get the bigger bass. But I'm going to go out and actually throw that 2-inch here. I'm going to try to go out and see if they're biting it here this weekend, the 2-inch big hammer, and I'm going to throw a wrecking ball around as well, try to get some footage of either one of those, whichever one they want the most that day. We're going to go out and try to get some live footage on that out in the pits. Don't know what pit we're going to yet. And then in the spring, throw your finesse jigs, like a 2K Jigs Little Punk works great. I like a blue crab color in that. And then the big hammer ringer worm and magic bug works as well. Then the summertime as well, stick to your finesse jigs, stick to the ringer worm. Stick to Cinco style worms, work really good in there. Wacky rigged as well because it's so shallow and they like that slower fall. And then a 7-inch power worm and blue fleck works really good in there as well. Now, frog wise in the summertime works really good. Frogs, okay, frogs. A Vexan Ninja frog works really good, and a poppin' frog if you're out away from the grass. If you're out in the grass, throw the Ninja swimming frog. So you could not get hung up. That poppin' frog get hung up that grass a little bit, but if you're out away from the grass, throw that poppin' frog, allow you to cover some more water if you're there in low light conditions or during the morning hours. They'll be up in there. And even once that sun comes up, that swimming frog, guys, you can get up there on top of those mats and they'll come up and eat it out of those mats. And then punching wise, when I'm talking punching the mats, I'm talking getting like a 1-ounce tungsten and punching through those mats. And you can punch through those mats. A great bait for that is the big hammer ringer worm. You can also throw some crawl style baits or punching style baits, but I like the big hammer ringer worm when I'm flipping or punching. So hopefully this helps you guys out in PowerLine Pit. If you guys want to go out and catch lots of fish and harvest some bass, this is the place to go, guys. And this is the place if you got some kids that want to catch some bass, because there's so many bass in there. So it's just a great place to go to catch fish. Hopefully this video helps you guys. I'm going to try to get some more pit videos up here as it's a little slower this week. Past next couple weeks, I got another pit tournament coming up here. I believe it's on the 17th, right around there, the middle of the month, whatever Saturday that is. And then I'll be heading to Fort Gibson, or not Fort Gibson, but the Arkansas River after that at the beginning of April for the BFL. So I'm going to try to get some more pit videos up here while I'm not busy doing all that and getting ready for the BFLs. I'm going to be focusing on the pits for about the next 3 weeks. So stay tuned in. I got some more videos coming for you guys. Hopefully some more breakdowns. Hopefully some live action as well. Some catches I can get in there. Going to show you guys what works good in the pits now that it's starting to warm up, and hopefully get more catches out there for you guys, and maybe a big one. You guys can see what happens when I actually catch a big fish and how excited I get. I get extremely excited when I catch a big fish. So hopefully we'll get some good footage up. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you next time.